One of the most difficult things in this healthy journey is watching a loved one deteriorate when you have the knowledge. When you have the knowledge to help somebody and you have a loved one that his body is falling apart and because they're getting older and just life is life, and they don't want to take your information, that's very, very difficult to go through, especially when you know that you can help them. But you have to let them live on their own. And my grandmother, she was having an arm problem about a month and a half ago when I was visiting. And I had to ask the question, I'm like, Ma, I care about you. And you know that I have the information. What am I supposed to do if I know I have the information and you don't want to take it? She said, all you can do is worry about yourself, baby. And that took pressure off of me, because when I'm the type of person where if I give you information and you don't take it, I get upset with you. Because if I know that what I'm telling you can be helpful to you and you're just ignoring it for whatever reason, I start to get upset with you. And that's wrong of me to do. And hearing her say that, someone that I love, my grandmother dearly, she's been there for me through so much. And to hear her say that to me, that took a lot of pressure off of me, because I don't want to say it not pressure, but it took that part away where I would feel some type of way towards her because she didn't take that information. You feel what I'm saying? Because that's where I would go at with it. If I'm giving you information and you don't utilize it, knowing that what I'm telling you is right, I would get mad at you. So it took that away from me getting mad at her and possibly not going by to see her as much as I would like to. But it's not a good thing. You shouldn't tune no one out because they don't want to take your information. You know what I mean? Let them go through what they got to go through. And that's where I was wrong at when I first started this journey. But, it's difficult when you have a loved one that you really want to help and then they just turn their nose up at it because they're not ready to go through it. They don't have the mental discipline and they just don't have the fortitude to deal with it. You know what I mean? But you have to stay focused. I have to focus on yourself, baby. And that's what it is. And then you have to think, well, damn, I don't want to be selfish. Because I don't want to be selfish to the point to where I'm only worried about myself. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not a good space to be. And then I had it in my mind to where, because even with my mother she still eats craziness. She's trying to make a change now, but I'm not there all the time, so I don't get to see what she's doing behind closed doors. But she had made a statement, and I'm like, well, I say, I'll put it like this. What you put in your body is a reflection of how much you love yourself. So if you put dead animals in your body, knowing what those dead animals do to you, I have to ask, do you love yourself? Do you really love yourself if you're putting a dead animal in your body? So if you're putting a dead animal in your body, knowing what that does to you because of the chemicals and everything that they're putting in it, even the other foods, the processed foods, if you're putting those foods in your body, I'm going to assume you don't love yourself. So when it's time for the inevitable, which is a caretaker, you can't assume that I'm just going to have to drop everything that I'm doing today to go and help you tomorrow. Because the choices that you're making today is going to impact and affect you tomorrow. Am I wrong for that, family? And speak to me in the comments. Am I wrong for that? If you know today what you're putting in your mouth is going to have an impact on your life tomorrow, and inevitably you're going to need a caretaker because your body is going to break down, a limb is going to break down, a leg is going to break, something's going to happen to where you may need some outside assistance. You may need my help for me to come and do something. Now, if it's an accident, when you've gotten a car accident, I get it. I've got everything I can and I'm shooting over. But if it's a cancer or something, sugar diabetes, and I know that I've given you the tools, and now you want me to drop everything that I'm doing so I can come and help you? Am I wrong for not dropping everything? I need to hear what y'all gotta say about this. Now that doesn't mean I love you any less. In fact, I love you dearly. This is what I'm trying to help you. But if you just totally ignore that, right? Am I wrong for not attending to you like you expect me to? Because I'm your son, or I'm your grandson, or I'm your brother. You see what I'm saying? It gets tricky for me. Because my life is precious, so is my time. Time is the most important, is very important. So I would like to hear from y'all what y'all gotta say when you're trying to help people. Sometimes you gotta let them go through the fire on their own. Most of the times you gotta let them go through the fire on their own. And then let them figure it out themselves. But most of the time, all the time, most of the time, we can't do nothing but point the finger back at ourselves because we are control. We are in control. We can't blame somebody else for who we are today. Not in 2025. 70 years ago, I'll say, especially from the black community, we had an unfair advantage when it came to economic opportunity. So now in 2025, we are still dealing with some of those after effects of that. Call it post-traumatic slave disorder. But how long do we get to lean on that before we get to say, you know what? It's my fault now. How long do we get to lean on that? How long do we get to lean on that? Because it has to come to a point. Now, I get it. Some are in worse situations than others. I happen to say that my situation was, it wasn't the best, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't like super bad either. My mom chose to spend her time at work than to spend it with her kids because she chose to want to make extra money and put all that overtime in. And it affected us, being left at home with our stepfather and my dad living in another location and so on and so forth. But I say that to say that my circumstances may not have been as bad as yours, who may have grew up on a project block that drugs was just in your face all day. Now, I grew up in a house where my grandma was selling crack. But when my mom was able to get me out of there, we moved. Still saw drug dealing at the time, but it wasn't like in my face all day. My mom didn't smoke crack. So I didn't, grow up with that right in my face. Some of us grew up in crack households where our moms smoked crack. Our fathers never showed up at all. We didn't have those grandparents that was loving and giving us that nurturing feeling. So I get it why some of us just can't get to where we want to get to. And I'm not going to say that that's always going to be an excuse, but I can see where there has to be some type of lenience or empathy there on my side. So I'm going to always understand. Some of us just had it fucking hard. But how long do we get to lean, especially when we become adults? With all the information out there today, how long do we get to lean on this? That it's not this man and that woman killing us no more. We actually putting the drugs in our mouth because we're going to call it what it is. Food is a drug. It's a stimulant. Anytime you can't go 2 or 3 days without food and you getting headaches and, body aches and all types of frustration like a crackhead would get if they don't have their drugs, that shit is a stimulant just like the drugs. It is a drug. Right? So, part of me want to say that 2025 is no excuse, but I know it's a lot of us that had to deal with the lingering effects of where our parents were and how we had to grow up. And yes, There is a great chunk of us that have overcome that. But the overall majority, we still suffering. You see what I'm saying? The overall majority of us, we still suffering. Single parent households and, lack of love and whatever the case may be. Mental problems. You know what I mean? But the ones of us that are like myself, who are a little bit more conscious of what I'm doing, I can't blame nobody else no more for where I'm at. I am the one that's in control of my destiny. I'm going to believe and build on my farm because I was able to put myself in that position. And I had help along the way. People that wanted to help me. I utilized that. And in turn, I was able to give something back, whether it was my time, whatever the case may be. But I didn't just do this by myself. I'm still dealing with some of the effects of how I grew up. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of anger I know that's still built up within myself that I'm trying to overcome. But I can only take this shit one step at a time. So I try to put the right things in my body to deal with my first brain, which is my gut, to hopefully influence my second brain. Because we know that the food is a big, you got to look at it. The umbilical cord wasn't attached to your head when you came out. It was attached to your gut. So I try to put the foods in my body that are going to influence my thought in a better way. Maybe make me less aggressive, less angry. You know what I mean? And it has helped. I've gotten to a better space in my mind, in my life, But a lot of us have to stop pointing the finger, especially when we become adults. When we become adults, with all this information out here, we have to start taking control of our life and be great like you are. Because you're great. There's nobody out here like you. No person out here is like you. There is no identical. There is no duplicate. You are the only one. Land is very unique because there's no two parcels the same. I don't care what size they are. If they're both the same size, they're still not in the same location. You are just like land. There's no other like you. Peace.